when you pay your investment to the franchise company, whether it's 50 or 100K, you are not paying as an investor, you are paying a fee. The systems, the product that head office has built, and you now have access to that. It's called a turnkey operations. As a franchisee, you're not a 50-50 partner. The decisions ultimately lie with the franchisor. You're not an investor, you're not a 50-50 partner, you are a franchisee. Hey everyone, welcome to Courtside Conversations. My name's Emil, founder and owner of Little Boomers Basketball, and it's a pleasure to be your host today. Wherever you're watching today's episode, I hope you're having a booming day, and yes, the pun is intended. My journey to entrepreneurship started on May 1st, 2018 when I launched my first basketball program with 9 kids enrolled. Today, thousands of kids across Australia are thriving in our programs, all thanks to the commitment and passion of our incredible franchisees. This podcast is here to give you real, straightforward, no BS insights into business, entrepreneurship, and what it's like to own a franchise. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. You know when one of the happiest moments was when I was a child? It's when I had a wobbly tooth. Whenever I had a tooth that was going to be on its way out or was wobbling, I'd get excited, I'd start moving it, I'd get it, I'd wrap it up in tissue, I'd put it under my bed, and I got $5. Every single time I lost a tooth, I got $5. I took that $5, went to the canteen, bought a chicken burger and a Coke. Back then you probably can't do it, you probably need $10, $15 now with inflation. And I was the happiest kid on earth until I realized the tooth fairy wasn't true. And unfortunately, that's when the $5 bills stopped coming in. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you 5 franchise myths that are less true than the tooth fairy. Let's get into it. Franchise myth number 1. A franchise is an established system, which means you are guaranteed revenue. My goodness, what an urban myth this is. A lot of people, when they're looking to get out of the corporate and want to start their own business, say, you know what, rather than starting my own business, I'll start a franchise. It's established and I'm guaranteed revenue. That couldn't be more true. You are guaranteed systems, technology, brand, and hopefully some form of support, but you are not guaranteed any revenue. The only time in this world that you are guaranteed revenue is if you are a worker in Australia, because by law, they must pay you. But in regards to franchising, guys, a revenue is not guaranteed. It doesn't matter how big the franchise is, how big the business is, you are not guaranteed revenue. And just a caveat on that, if you're looking at purchasing a franchise and the franchisor has given or guaranteed you revenue and said you can make $100,000 in your first year, I'm not saying that's not true, but be very careful and really consider what they're saying here. They're guaranteeing you money based on the work that you have to do. That's putting them at a big risk, so just be very careful of that. Tooth fairy myth number 2, a franchise network offers support. So that means I don't have to do much or I can do less work. Another big myth in franchising. Remember team, franchising gives you systems, gives you technology, gives you the brand. It does network-wide marketing. It offers the products that you can take to the market, but it doesn't do the legwork. You need to be in the store, serving the customers, serving the people, getting back to inquiries, doing outbound phone calls. You're going to be doing the brunt of the work. I'll give you a great example. The franchisor is the architect. They've created the structures, the blueprints, and the systems for you to take. You're the builder, and you've got to go to work with that. But just don't think that because you're coming into a franchise, the work is easier than starting your own business, because it isn't. Tooth fairy myth number 3, because I'm paying an investment to head office, I'm now an investor, which means I've got say in decisions. I'm now a 50-50 partner in the company. My goodness, this is one that people don't speak about very often. Just remember, when you pay your investment to the franchise company, whether it's 50 or 100K, you are not paying as an investor. You are paying a fee for all the technology, the IP, the systems, the product that head office has built, and you now have access to that. It's called a turnkey operations. But you do not, as a franchisee, have say in decisions, ultimate say, I'm saying. You're not a 50-50 partner. The decisions ultimately lie with the franchisor. Now, yes, a good franchisor will get feedback from the franchisee. Hey guys, we're looking at rolling this, what do we think? They're going to get your feedback, they're going to get your input, like a great franchisor would do that. But ultimately, the decision lies with them, which means if they're going with a new supplier that might be a little bit more expensive to you, you ultimately have to go with that supplier, because in the franchise agreement, it says you've got to go with all the suppliers given to you by the franchisor. You can't just say, you know what, I don't like that, I'm going to go with this one, right? That's where it gets ugly. That's where issues start to arise in the franchise relationship. So just remember, you're not an investor, you're not a 50-50 partner, you are a franchisee. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying today's episode. Just two quick things. If you're finding value from today's episode, if you can subscribe to our channel and share it to a friend, that would mean the world to me. I'm trying to make what is a very confusing space like franchising easy to understand so people don't make the wrong decisions later on in their life. And if you know anybody that might want to become a Little Boomers basketball franchisee, they love working with kids, they love sports and basketball, and they want to make a difference to their community, there's some links below that you can share with them. Enjoy the rest of today's episode. Tooth Fairy myth number 4. Technically, I'm my own boss now that I'm a franchisee, so I can do things how I like. If I don't like that supplier, I'm going to go with my own one. If I don't like the way they deliver that product, I'm going to do it my way. If I don't like that marketing material, I'm going to create my own. That is another big myth that we see in franchising. Yes, you are your own boss. You have employees under you, you're paying wages, you're responsible for more matters, and you get revenue and profit. But you're not your own boss in the sense where you can just go rogue and not follow the outlines in the franchise agreement. The franchise agreement is the governing body that tells you what you can do and what you can't do. Not many people study the franchise agreement and they don't actually say, oh, you know, I can't choose a supplier. I have to go with that supplier. I have to do it this way. That's the purpose of the franchise agreement. It outlines all those things. So just remember, you are your own boss, but you have to follow the rules and the guidelines outlined by the franchisor. If you don't like it, don't start a franchise. Start your own business. Simple. And finally, that brings us to the 5th Tooth Fairy myth. Hey, that rhymed. The only fee I need to pay for in a franchise is the investment, the initial investment, and whatever the royalty fee is. And that is it. I am sweet. Couldn't be further away from the truth. Not too sure if you know, but in a franchise agreement, there's a table called the FDD. I mentioned it in one of my previous episodes. The Franchise Disclosure Document. It's a table that outlines all the fees that can occur in this franchise. You must read it. You must study it. You must be okay with those fees. Guess what people do? They don't read it. They don't study it. Then, when they become a franchisee and they get invoiced for training, or they get invoiced for a field support officer, why am I getting invoiced? One of the franchisees asked, why am I getting invoiced to have somebody come down and check my classes out? Isn't that covered in the franchise fee? Well, no, it isn't. If you go to the FDD table, it costs us money to bring a field support officer there, hence why you're paying that fee. It's actually outlined in the FDD. But if you don't do your homework and you don't read the FDD, you're going to get caught off guard, then you're going to complain to head office. Why am I getting charged for this? Why am I getting charged? Well, this was in the agreement that you signed. So you've got to make sure that you look at all the fees, right? Some of the common fees in any franchise relationship are, yes, the royalty fees. There's some type of marketing levy for ongoing marketing. There's usually training day fees. There's equipment costs that you will need to pay. If you run out of equipment, you've got to purchase them from the supplier given to you by the franchisor, like for us. If a franchisee needs basketballs, they can't just go to Rebel Sports or Spalding and order their basketballs. They've got to go through our supplier to get our branded basketballs. There's usually rent that you need to pay. There's a field visit fee. I mentioned to you before, like that's things that people don't know about. Like if a field support officer from head office comes down to your location, there's going to be a fee for that you will need to pay. Now you might be saying, well, I don't want him to come down. It's okay, don't worry about coming down. Well, hold on, he or she has to come down to do regular checkups to make sure you're operating at that brand standard. That catches a lot of people off guard. And then you've got all these other fees. You've got rent, internet, all these other fees that occur. But I recommend, so that you don't get caught in that myth number 5, is make sure you look at the table in the FDD. So to summarize, The tooth fairy. I'm the tooth fairy today, and I'm going to give you the myths today to be careful. Number one is don't think that because a franchise is an established model that you're guaranteed revenue. No, the only time you're guaranteed revenue is if you get a 9-to-5 job. Number two, yes, the franchise does offer support, but they don't do the hard work for you. You will need to do the hard work in the business. Okay, don't think because it's a franchisor, you can just sit back. Number three, don't think that because you're paying an initial investment, you are now a partner. And a lot of people say, hey, become a franchise partner. Some people might think, does that mean I'm a 50-50 say? I'm a minority owner in decision making? No, you're not. You have to do ultimately what the franchisor says. But yes, a good franchise network will get feedback from their franchisees before they make a decision. But ultimately, the decision lies with the franchisor. Myth number 4, I'm my own boss, so technically I can do what I want. Not true, guys. You have to follow the rules outlined by the franchisor. If you're not happy with the rules, don't get a franchise, start your own business. The only fees I need to pay in franchising is the initial investment. We debunked that. Not true. Make sure you look at the table in the FDD. Guys, I hope you found value from this video. If you did find value, drop us a comment, subscribe to our channel, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. God bless.